a second. Ooh, isn't that nice? Well, I'm here because why wait till tomorrow? As the I think I'll turn this up for just a little bit. I think I can endure for the duration of a short video. So so Ozzy Osbourne passed away, and that is another great loss. I was going to wait at first until tomorrow, and then as the afternoon is passing, it's 4:45 here in Omaha. And, excuse me, and I'm sitting here just listening to records and some other things, which I'll share. It's like, it's a huge loss for music, for culture. Ozzy, was quite a figure. And what got me to go ahead and talk a little bit is, and hopefully I can do it because, I'm not fresh like in the morning, sipping just a little bit of afternoon coffee. This is probably the last one. But Black Sabbath and Ozzy, I bet you a lot of people who love music, who are involved in music, collect music, have Ozzy stories. And I don't have a direct Ozzy story, but Black Sabbath have touched my life personally. I'll share a couple things. But, Ozzy is someone who I'm glad I got to see. I saw them on the farewell tour. What was that, 2016, 2017? Really glad I got to see that because the time before I saw Black Sabbath, it was with Dio, which was still very excellent. But, knowing Ozzy's story and his very humble beginnings, very poor, grew up poor. And, an oddball misfit, not a popular kid. And the whole story of when he went to audition for Earth, Black Sabbath, and how, that guy, really? To me, it's just a testimony to the reality of how things really go compared to the storybook that that's presented to people, like, the way that the story wants to be told by someone. This misfit changed the world, as opposed to some cool hip, you know, um, you know, grade A student, or the all-star jock in high school becoming. I mean, there are those stories of success. But do you hear what I'm saying about the impact of someone like Ozzy, just being such an original and just coming from nothing and making something out of nothing and affecting the world, literally changing music? Does everyone have Black Sabbath in their collections? I'm missing one here. I knew it. I knew one. I knew it. I knew it was one is out of place. But here's the ones that I grabbed. I was just mentioning because I watched the Birmingham, and now also here. Let me just riff because it's like many thoughts and feelings. This one hits, but we saw it coming. But I mean, I'm sure I wasn't the only one who had these thoughts that Ozzy isn't going to die on stage, but if he could, he would. The Birmingham show, which I'm glad I was able to see, it was all he could do to make it through the show. I mean, you could see his body, convulsing and stuff with the Parkinson's. But to me, it's like it was just I thought it's just a matter of time, and so this is heavy and it hurts, but it's like I saw it coming. I did, you know. It was just evident. Because now this is me speculating, but I think I'm probably fairly on it. If it was in him, if there's any way that Ozzy had enough health left, I mean, it's his spirit, that's another thing. But if his health would have permitted, Ozzy would have kept going. After this big Birmingham show, he would have found a way to do another show, either probably his Ozzy band with Zach. But there was no gas left in that tank. I just shared recently, talking about the Birmingham, about how I remembered in my bedroom on Spalding Street in the year, what was it, 1970, when this comes on the radio with the rain and the thunder and the bell, and then that riff, and then Ozzy, what is this that stands before me? Like other seminal works, like the first time I heard Watcher of the Skies by Genesis, or the first time I heard Sgt. Pepper's by the Beatles. I can name others, but those come to mind right away. Groundbreaking moments for me personally, but I think for many people, it's like, what is going on? This is a change. Something is changing here. And so I have a couple of personal stories that I'll share. This is not my original beat up Master of Reality, but I bought this when it came out shortly after. I was working. I don't want to see, I will say things and then I'll realize I'm not sure that's true. The timeline. I know that I was able to buy this, but what I want to share about this album was, I believe it was me who took this copy to school. I was going to Creighton Prep, that all boys school, and I'm not the only one that would do it. You would just, they're like totems. I'm searching for the word, but it's like when you would walk around with the record under your arm in your neighborhood, or you'd take it to school, even if you weren't gonna play it. There was nothing, no, I can't rethink. But the thing is, this classmate who is to this day a good friend of mine noticed it. It was either I had it or he had it in the class. And that was the connection. It was the Black Sabbath that caused us to speak to each other. Mark J, I've mentioned him recently. We're still friends. We don't hang out like we used to, but Mark and I were extremely close when we were teens. What's significant about this is that even though I come from a musical family and I was learning band instruments, it was through Mark that I had my first rock band experiences. He is left-handed, so he played left-handed, so I couldn't just pick up his bass and just do his thing. But it was, besides me sneaking when I could sneak and play my brother's bass, which is not very often. It was through Mark that I started my journey as a performing musician, and Black Sabbath figures into that. It was the album Black Sabbath that caused us to speak to each other. It's like, it's a language. It's like, okay, this guy's cool, right? Or this is someone I can probably relate to. And great person. Our paths went in different directions. He ended up becoming a hobbyist jazz musician besides his regular work. But interesting, isn't it? And I'm the one that went. Well, I played everything, but the rock. Rock was what I wanted to play. I was playing jazz. I learned it through my family, and of course, just being in my environment. I love jazz, but it was rock that excited me still in general. So Paranoid, you know, it was through my friend Mark that I got to hear a lot of these records because his family was upper middle class. I met them at that all boys school, and we just got on like a house on fire. So I got to hear a lot of records through Mark that I couldn't afford. And it was his copy of Paranoid, which was a U.S. gatefold. That's what the copy I remember really becoming familiar with. And I really like this album. I really do. I've always liked Black Sabbath. Tony Iommi's guitar tone and the riffs that he comes up with, amazing. Sabbath Volume 4. But of course, I'm missing at least one, maybe two more Black Sabbath albums that are misfiled out there. But here's the other one where I can share a personal connection in a way. So here we have the album Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. Another good album, but oddly, to me, this sounds like a cocaine album. The way that it's engineered, it's like these people weren't hearing things correctly to my ears. I would remix this album in a minute. But the artwork, that artwork is by the famous Drew Struzan, who's known for besides this, he's known mainly for, I think, Star Wars posters. But Drew Struzan is a longtime personal friend of Floyd Norman and my sister Adrian. So the last time I went out to California, which was like about 2016 or so, while I was out there, Drew got wind that I was going to be in town, and he wanted to meet me, and insisted on taking me out to dinner to this. I can't remember the name of it. It's an exclusive restaurant. He and his wife had a booth table, kind of like just like instantly reserved for them. They treat them like royalty. Drew did this cover, and it was so humbling. He was such like Carrie Manier, such a humble man for the amazing talent that he has. And there's a documentary on him. I think the same people that did Floyd Connection. His story is interesting. He came up hard. No wonder he's so amazing. But that's the other personal Black Sabbath connection that I can make. The guy that did this cover for their album, a friend of my sister and brother-in-law, blew me away. And they did. They just like anything you want on the menu, anything. And it was neat because the relationship that he has with my sister, both my sisters, as well as Floyd, is really close and deep. And he just, he gets our essence. And so he just opened up to me while we're eating and talking all this deep stuff where he like really needed someone to talk to about these things, and starts crying and stuff, and his wife is not embarrassed. She is like, we're all kind of rallying. It was really touching. The guy that did this album cover. I mean, I've had some amazing, I dare say, like all of you, everyone that's watching, have had probably some pretty amazing experiences in life. That's one. I've had fun sharing these records. It's cool because it finally arrived today. I've been needing a new stylus for a long time for my USB turntable. It finally arrived today. wow, what a difference, But it's like I'm glad that I got done playing these records that were given to me on the old stylus because boy, what a I mean that. But it's like people got to understand, like I've been saying, and I'll say it again: taste is personal. Just because something is good, like someone is trying to, not trying to, but someone shared their enthusiasm. A couple of folks shared their enthusiasm about the Frankie Goes to Hollywood. One saying that they thought they were surprised I wasn't hip to it. Well, I was hip to it. I just had never bothered to, I never owned it. So I'd hear the record, hear the hits, I hear the production. It doesn't trip my trigger. Do I recognize what these people are saying about it, why they think it's so cool? Yes, but it's not what I like. And that's the thing I want to share. It's like, it's part of human psychology, and a lot of people kind of expect that if they can convince you that you'll change what you're thinking, or that somehow you don't know what you're thinking. I think this may be the case a lot of times for people. It's like people can be easily be swayed or influenced, or someone will say something and it'll change their perspective. And that's true for me too. When it comes to music, I do know what I like. So pointing out the excellence of something, which I can already hear, if it doesn't resonate with what I like, that doesn't change. What changes is personal experience with stuff. And, you know, frankly, Goes to Hollywood is just a good example of something that its time is over. It's not, their sexuality didn't bother me. That ain't got nothing to do with my not connecting with the music. It's just this bombastic thing that they're doing that doesn't interest me. And yeah, I want to say that about it. um, However, I did discover another record in the bunch that I went ahead and played. I thought I was going to just give it away, but it's like, this is interesting. I don't collect comedy records, but I like Lily Tomlin. But there's this Lily Tomlin Takes Bad Trip, Modern Scream on Polydor. Again, can't say I know I'd ever seen this record. I went ahead and put it on, and it was fun for a second, but it's like, shit, yeah, I'm keeping this. At first, I would thought it would just be some junk. It's like, wow, that's kind of cool. That is kind of cool. So I texted Blake about the record, saying that I had some, and I mentioned the Chick Corea. There's also a Stevie Wonder in there. It's a double. I have it already, Intervisions. And he said, I'll take them. So I love helping to turn other people on to the pleasure of vinyl. But right quick, these are some more that he will probably take some of these. I did give this a good listen. Interestingly, I just got done listening to a whole side of this, Bob Seger, 9 Tonight, who, like the person who talked about Dan Fogelberg, I totally respect Dan Fogelberg's artistry. And when I hear his music, it is great. I just, compared to what I'm really interested in, there was no more room for his music, but total respect for Fogelberg's artistry. Same for Bob Seger. Now, this is one of those, you hear old time rock and roll on the radio way too much here in Omaha, so I always turn it off. But Bob Seger, once again, is an absolute real, he's the real deal. I didn't get to go, but he played at my high school. He played at Creighton Prep. It was one of those shows that I missed. There were several because I couldn't afford to go and they couldn't get out there. I was, down in the motherfucking ghetto. But Seger played at my high school. But I enjoyed the first side of this. His songwriting, like the guy talking about Dan Fogelberg, you can't deny the level of songwriting this guy does lyrically, and also the musical bed is just, it's the real music of his life. Total respect for this. I'm not keeping it. It's not the sort of thing, but I enjoyed it. Same with this. I'm just going to wrap this up. This, I keep saying it. It's like it's an ongoing conversation, isn't it? Here's another one where I saw Taj Mahal a long time ago at the Howard Street Tavern, and it was a wonderful show. Um, but it's all bluesy and stuff, and so even though I had an amazing time, I didn't see that's how much this music is a part of my life. It's like, no, it's like not all of a sudden I'm discovering it. I'm going to go buy some Taj Mahal. I don't need to. I'd already been living it. But I played this today. Um, Music for You. It's a good album. Blake will probably want this. When I met Bela Fleck and the Flecktones, Future Man. We hung out after the show. I like to meet people and talk. Victor Wooten gave me a impromptu bass lesson. I asked a question. It turned into a bass lesson. And then Future Man also vibed. We just hung. And he said, man, you got a vibe like Taj Mahal. That's quite a compliment. Quite a compliment. I played this Blackbirds. Blake will probably dig this. He likes funk. And this is more party music than, see, I like the jazz side of it, the fusion side. And like this, for example, Crusaders. He'll like this. I don't like this. I just don't, I don't like this style. Are they good players? Yes. But when they get into the funk and they move into fusion and they move away from that, that's what I like. I like telling you too. I know what I like. There's a lot of stuff that people really value and think is good, and I don't. And I just getting to tell you. Here's another one that um, Blake will probably take. Sun. Want to make love? Come flick my bick. Good band. Funky. So this is another Cyrita album where it's not produced by Stevie Wonder. I didn't look at the dates, but I'm betting this is afterwards. This is more accomplished. It's like she's free. This is really Cyrita, not Cyrita through Stevie, which that's how those things happen, sometimes. Um, it's better, but it's like, I'm not keeping it. And then the BT Express, it's like, yeah, this is party music, and it's a good band, man. They got a good swinging funk. I'm not keeping it, okay? But pardon me for that. But comparatively, the effect, it's a whole different type of music, but it's still music. But the effect on my life and my interest, Black Sabbath. That's more. That's that's the trajectory of my life as opposed to funk. My older brother James, was a monster bass player, it was funk and jazz. So anyway, I decided not to wait to say rest in peace, Ozzy. He was larger than life and deserves the accolades that he's getting. And just like losing David Bowie and Prince and recently Brian Wilson, those spots cannot be replaced. They're empty. That also reminds me that another musician that just died that I've heard of today that most of you don't know of, but it's worth mentioning because his music affects me. Polly Palmer of the band Family, and specifically his vibes playing and what he added to the band was one of the first things that caught my attention about the band Family. when I first heard the album Fearless. That's what I first heard by them. But I read that he passed away today. So rest in peace. Music is magic. It makes life worth living. Cheers, people.